What's up, guys? Welcome to A Truth About Him podcast, #1 podcast of mental health and wellness. I'm Anthony.
I'm Baron.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome to another week of the podcast. We in this place,
We
right?
in this building.
We in this building. We're here. We're here.
It feels weird being on this side, though.
Does it? Hey, so sometimes you gotta switch it up.
Switch
do
it
things
up.
different. You gotta keep them guessing, right?
Yeah, you gotta keep them guessing. It just feels weird.
Right.
Okay, but yeah.
How's that week for you?
Man, I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm getting over that little bug that's going around. I fought it. I was down. I had to rest for 2 days. I farted. I had to sit my ass down. Yeah. I had to sit my ass down for like 2.5 days. Right. And interesting 2 days. But yeah, I'm getting better. I'm stronger for it. So
it's good.
I'm back on my feet. How's your week?
Glad you're back. Well, I just came off of that.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Yeah. So last week went to the doctor, like I promised. Allergies.
Okay.
So got my allergy medication. Got my cough medication. So we'll see. As I talk more, we'll see how this thing goes. But
we're gonna see.
Yeah, I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
But a good week. As you know, I started a little journey here. That we'll talk about later on. But it's
I got you.
It's good. It's refreshing. It's going to refine me as a man. So I'm good. So good to go. Good to go. So this week has been a pretty a lot of chatter in the podcast world.
A lot of chatter.
Yeah. About our boy Captain America, Anthony Mackie, and his concerns over the death of American masculinity.
Right.
So that's something that that you and I would say, let's just take some time and touch on that and see where it goes.
It's funny, yeah, because it's A, is right up our alley.
Right.
B, we actually did an episode about this, and if you didn't check it out, check out what was Masculinity versus Identity.
We're gonna link it up right here. Just check it out.
Check it out. It's one of our best ones. So we're gonna talk about that. Give some opinions on that one. So
all right. So let's play the clip first.
Let's play the clip,
and then we'll hop into it and start talking about it. Here we go.
I keep my boys humble. Like, my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. My boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids. And no, I don't give a I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid. Mm-hmm. Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he gonna straighten the other ones out. Mm-hmm. So it's just that thing of, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities, for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open a door for a lady. Mm-hmm. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always, since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. Mm. You make sure these doors are locked every night, this alarm is on, you text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world, jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there. And so for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
Hold up. Limitless.
So that was on the Pivot podcast.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So I'm going to defer to you to get started.
Okay.
On this one.
Well, let's first acknowledge that this is a man that has four sons.
Is it 4?
4 sons, yes. 4 sons. I don't believe he has any daughters, but I know for a fact he has 4. He's raising 4 young kings.
Okay.
His opinion matters. Now, there was a lot of generalization in there.
Let me just say this real quick, before we start. So I'm sure that I speak for the show on this. It's like, we are okay with how someone raises their kids.
Absolutely.
Right? As long as there's no abuse, there's no neglect. How you raise your kids is totally up to you, right?
Totally up to you. How
we
you
respect
raise your
that.
tribe.
All right?
Exactly.
That's
I respect however you raise your family. If it works for you and it doesn't hurt anybody else
or them,
right?
Who
Who are we to tell you that you're wrong?
Okay.
That being said, this man has 4 sons, and I like how he detailed some things and then overgeneralized or generalized in others. Not right or wrong.
Right.
You know, let's just take the fact that he said that American masculinity has been dying for the past 20 years. Interesting number, 20 years. I mean, could be right, could be wrong. But again, that's a generalization. How? I would have liked to ask him, like, in what ways does he feel? Right. Does he feel that American masculinity has been dying? My opinion to that is I don't disagree with him at all. Okay. First off, let me say that. I don't disagree. I will offer some context to why I believe that. We want to make sure that our young men are as a society, not me per se, as a society, we want to make sure that our young men are being heard. We want them to, our feelings, and you make sure that you feel, and if you feel a certain way, you tell me, and don't be ashamed. You can tell me anything.
You're saying that's what we want to do?
This is what a lot of people are giving. Okay, so I would say, like how some people say, I don't like, as we grew up, this is going to be touchy. You grew up either liking the same sex or liking the opposite sex. And if you liked the opposite sex, you were this. You put you in these boxes. And now we say, well, no, you can like this. You can like them both. You can like them all. You don't even have to like any of them. Yeah. We want to vague and not stick to our core 4. We want, as men, we are supposed to protect. Right. It's in our nature. It's in our DNA. How can we go against who we are? Whether who we like, who we don't like, it's still in our nature to protect. So I can be a gay man and still protect you. I can still be a provider. I can still do all of these things that a quote unquote man will do and still be gay. Yeah. Is my point. True. So I don't believe, but I think we're in a world where we want to make sure that everybody's included and we don't want to offend anybody. So we stray away from our core values. He gave examples of he's raising his young men to be, he's raising his young boys to be men. Right. And he gave examples. Those were the only things that I can really say that he went specific in. Like, they're always going to say, yes, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. They're always going to say, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. They're always, see these words, always. That means they're not sometimes. They're not going to be when I'm with them, they're going to say thank you.
What do you feel the generality is, though? Because I really didn't catch anything that was super general.
Well, the generalities are I'm teaching them to be men. So the critics are like, well, what are you saying? If I'm not doing these things, then I'm not being a man. I don't think that's what he was saying. Okay. What he was saying was, I'm teaching my young boys to be men. Here are some examples.
So if you're not doing what, you're not a man.
If you're not being respected, if you're not making sure the house is what if I don't have an alarm? Right. What if I don't make sure my doors are locked every night? Right. Am I less than a man? I don't think that's what he's saying. He's saying is he's giving specific examples on how he's raising his young boys to be men. Right. And the critics are saying that he's archaic for saying, like, we don't need to be protected by locking our doors. We don't need to be, well, maybe you don't, and that's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, why not?
Yeah, and that's fine, but what's wrong with me making sure that my house is protected? What's wrong because I'm a protector?
Are you saying not locking your doors, not having an alarm makes you less a man, or that's what you're saying the critics are saying?
I'm saying the critics are saying that. Okay. I'm saying the critics are saying because those are the things that he said in specific terms, and yet he's followed it up with, I'm teaching my young boys to be men. Right. And they're saying they're taking that generalization and saying, wait. Being a man is more than XYZ, what he said. But of course.
Yeah, it's more than that, but that's a huge part of it.
It's part of it.
In my opinion.
When you critique it as saying it's more than that, but it is also, I would ask that critic, is it part of it? Is what he said is what he said part of being a man?
I think it's a huge part of being a man. Huge part.
Huge
because
part.
if we are by nature protectors, providers,
Mm-hmm.
even though we have an innate natural state to be that, someone has to teach us how to manage that or how to use that. And it's supposed to be our fathers.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
So if he's saying that, I make sure, because I agree, if I'm not there, my son is a man in the house. I would tell my son every night, son, I'm not there. Check the doors, check the locks, make sure that everything is locked up, right? Because I want him to know that it's your job to protect your sisters, protect your mother, protect your grandmother, whoever's there.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You make sure everything's locked. And even now that his mom and I are separated, I still make sure, even at her place, hey, make sure everything's locked up, because that's what I want him to do.
Exactly.
I want him to always open the door for a lady, for his mom. You protect your sisters and you protect your mom. That's part of, to me, a massive part of being a man, because that teaches you how now to grow up and protect your own family, because one day you will have a wife and maybe daughters and sons, right? And now you got to pass this on. So I think you're saying that it's general in the sense of how people are receiving it, but you received it in a way where you understood what he was saying.
Exactly. You take back, I mean, you if you listen to it, like we ran it back right now and dissected the generalizations of what he said, some generalizations, but that's me nitpicking. That's me really going through it with a fine-tooth comb, because I'm being fair. Right. As I'm going to point out the generalizations, I'm also going to point out the specifics that he said as well.
Right.
And if you're going to do one, you got to do the other. So I think the critics were really just focusing on one half of the generalized part of what he said versus the specifics that help support what he said under his roof.
Right.
So he again, he's not wrong. This man, again, he's raising 4 sons in this new age, in this 2025. I can only imagine how raising kids are right now in this time.
Right.
I can only imagine. It's just a matter of, like, the Bible says, raise up a child in the way that he should go, and when he leaves the home, he won't flee from it. So, for instance, my grandfather taught me how to cut my grass.
Okay.
He taught me how to edge and how to prune and how to make sure that my landscape was fine in my house, at my mom's house when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So that taught me to, when I got my own, I can take care of my own yard, if I needed to. Now, if I chose to hire gardeners, I hire gardeners. Mm-hmm. But if all the gardeners in the world, all the lawnmowers in the world failed, I can still take mine out and cut my own grass. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what I taught my son. I have pictures of my son cutting the grass when he was like maybe 8, and the lawnmower was bigger than him. Mm-hmm. But I took these pictures because I wanted to show him when he got older, look, you don't need a landscaper. You can cut your own grass. So now I'm teaching him independence. I'm teaching him how to take pride in what he has, what he's investing in, because when you have property, you're investing in that. Right. So I'm teaching him that, and I'm teaching him not to, if he can save his money and keep his coins to himself, then now you're holding more, and you're being more self-insulated as far as you can be the creative part. You can do whatever. A lot of stuff we do, we could service it out. We could have other people do it, but
we're going to.
We're going to. But if push came to shove, we do the shit ourselves.
How these got here?
Yeah, we do it ourselves.
Did it ourselves, right?
So it's an independence thing. So I think that's what he's doing. He's raising his kids. I can imagine young men at 15. He said he's 15. That 15-year-old is going to be 25 at some point. Mm-hmm. And he's going to walk into a room and going to say, how are you? And no matter who his dad is.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But that's military training, though. I mean, in the military, teach what I say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I mean, it's just a sign of respect.
It's a sign of respect. I didn't see,
I don't know. Say my 12-year-old boy came to you and say, hey, what's up, Baron?
Oh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. This is Mr. Benjamin.
Mr. Benjamin.
You know, hello, sir.
Yeah.
You know, and I teach them that, and I teach my son this because one time we were at a basketball game. Jamie was there. Jamie was there at the basketball game, and Jamie was behind us. My son and I were sitting up front. Jamie walks by and say, you know, what's up, Anthony? You know, what's up, AJ? And my son sits there. I'm like, hold up, no, you speak, right? It's like you speak because any man that respects your father, you respect them, right? Because obviously because you know how I roll, how I move, and if some man is showing me respect, then I might get up and go give him a pound, shake his hand, and he did it. And we gotta teach that to our young boys because if they don't know that, they think they can say, "What's up?" or "I'm good" to grown ass men. Right. And so I totally agree with what Mackie's doing as far as how he's raising his kids. I mean, he's raising young kings.
He's raising young kings.
I totally agree. And to be a king, you got to carry yourself at a certain level. You got to move a certain way. And if no one teaches you that, your father has to. But yeah, I get it. Most men don't have fathers. I didn't have one, but I was able to find a way to get it done. Because again, we have an innate nature to lead and be kings and be providers and be protectors. That's in us, right?
Right.
And the critics are just doing their job. They are critics because if they didn't critique or talk about what he said, then they won't have jobs.
We won't be talking about it.
Exactly. So I get it.
Yep.
It makes sense. But there's just a certain way. I think that I think the big thing is that we are in the soft parenting area.
Coddling, yes.
Coddling. It's like everything has to be okay. No, everything's not okay.
No.
Right? It's not. Because one day you won't be there for that child.
How often do you remember growing up where you had, as a child, I mean, you didn't think about it as a child, but think about it now. How many non-negotiables did you think you had growing up as a child? Shit that you couldn't do?
Oh, a lot.
A lot of it was a baseline, right? You're like,
lot.
I know as a child I'm not, and I can't cuss in front of my mother. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna do crazy things in my house because that's my mama's house. I'm not doing that. I'm not disrespecting my house. I'm gonna do my best. Now, this is the thing. I'm not gonna lie to her, but I'm gonna do my best to not get caught in lies.
You know what a big one was too? I ain't gonna smack my lips.
That's a very low baseline. You're not gonna slam no doors.
Nope.
And you're not, when she's talking to you, you're not walking her out of the room. Right? It's right. Imagine doing it. These are baselines that we had growing up. Now, how many kids, well, not yours, because again, I say it almost every episode, bro. Kudos, hats off. So not yours, but how many kids do you see talking back, walking out of the room, smacking their teeth, slamming their doors? You see that a lot now. So we coddle a lot now than we did before, and I don't know really why. I don't know. Maybe soft ass parents.
It's accepted, right? I mean, soft parents make soft kids. So about 3 weeks ago, my daughter, 14-year-old, and 12-year-old son were having a little, bear bickering. I came in to a referee, right? Whistle-blowing, flag thrown, right? So my daughter gets an attitude and just, as I'm talking, walks away.
Oh no!
I'm like, so stopped her dead. I'm like, if you got the wrong one, plain and simple. All right, you got the wrong one.
You tried it.
You tried it.
You tried it. Because kids are gonna try.
I applaud you. But you know what? She never did it again. Because I made it clear that that's something that you're not going to do. You're not. Yep. And I don't believe parents have to raise their voice and yell and curse. That's not how it works, right? It just makes sure that what you do, you're super firm and you know that what you did wasn't right. Here's your consequence for it now, right? And then don't do it again. Just going back to how he said that masculinity has been killed for whatever reason or another. Right. It's been killed, and I agree with that.
Yeah,
and honestly, I don't even think it was over the past 20 years. I think it's been from the inception, bro.
Slowly but surely,
because if you go back to slavery, right? The goal was to remove that man from his wife and kids, pull the man out of the house, and take him away. Now, what influence does that man not have on his wife and kids? None.
Zero.
If you go way back then, that was the goal, and then go on to to where we are now. I think the goal, because the male influence is so strong, is like if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be easy for you to, okay, you know what? Let me move, or even dudes taking jobs out of state, right? That's something that I've always had concerns about, right? I mean, like who's leading your household? Who's there protecting your household, right? But I get it. If you have to, I understand that. But if you have a son, and raise him up in a way that he can take the lead for you or do things on your behalf when you're not there.
I kind of like what he said when you take that first one, that 15-year-old, because that 15-year-old is gonna be the one that always it trickles down. You know, when you pour water down here, it's gonna trickle down. Everybody's gonna get it. So you don't have to necessarily worry about all four. You make sure that one is in line, and then those three are gonna tote right behind him. Right. So it kind of makes it a lot easier. That's actually smart.
Right.
Like you almost learn that in business too. Like if you are a businessman, you hire, if you know you're not the smartest person, look at Magic.
You shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be.
Right.
But you should always have smart and evolved people around you.
Right.
You know, and you empower people because those people got people behind them. You don't have to go all the way down to the bottom or to the people's people. You just talk to that one person. It's like we got to get X, Y, Z in line. And that's how businesses are run. The CEO doesn't go talk to the cashier.
Yeah.
You know, the CEO going to talk to the district manager, and the district manager is going to talk to whoever they need to talk to, and that's it.
Right.
So the father, he's being the father, the lead, is going to talk to the first son. That's why the first son is so important.
Right.
First is always important because it'll never be another first.
Yeah.
And it sets the tone. Right. So you set the tone with that one. But I think here's a question I want to propose. We said soft ass parents, right? Is it that our parents, before, they knew what the line was and they knew our non-negotiables, and you knew for whatever it was, whether if it was a backhand or a belt or a switch or whatever, you knew I'm not gonna go that far anymore. Parents are so this is an interesting topic because parents are so working so hard now to try to provide that they're always at work.
Right.
Maybe it's not so much as them being soft as parents, but just being tired, drained, and not their parents. Mm-hmm. You know, because they're working maybe 2 jobs and having a regular job and maybe, you know, door dashing or something on the side, and they're not home. Kids are still being born. Kids are still going to be being born. Yeah. But are they working more? Are they out the house too much?
Yeah, I believe that's, as we're talking, like that was the key for me. Is that it was a different era, right? You know, back in the day, there were more parents together, and now coming up until, you know, over the last 20-some years, you know, parents, they're separate households.
More distractions too.
More distractions. Cost of living's up. So I believe that a bit, because honestly, what our parents teach us should trickle down.
True. Right?
It's supposed to. But once we get into life and start working and being busy, I have this bill due, and, you know, I can't be home, I can't be here. Now the kids are left to their own devices, you know, by themselves with their friends, and they learn different things. And I think that's a massive part of how kids grow up and how they turn out, and, you know, how they start to move, because the parents are not there to teach them what they were taught.
Right.
Right. So,
or at least not there on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and you know, right.
I think it's sometimes the consistency of it. They're too tired.
Yeah, and then parents aren't checking phones, you know, because I do phone checks. You know, I'm like, let me see, open it up, you know, let me see, because I want to make sure.
Parents in one-on-one class.
Yeah, I need to make sure that what you're listening to is. Now, I don't mind my kids, you know, watching videos that have curse words in it. You know, I don't mind, you know, because that's just the world we live in, right? But if it's because I've had to tell my son many times, you know what, next video, because that's just too much,
right?
And you can tell by the algorithm what they're listening to. Let's talk about this. Now, this is not really huge to me, but I want to touch on it. He talked about how half of it's huge, half of it's not. You know, my kids never own a pair of Jordans, and I don't do that internet fly shit. Right.
See, specifics.
Right.
generalization.
Right. So that to me is not huge, right? That to me, like owning a pair of Jordans, it's it's cool, but it that doesn't make you a man. You know, that doesn't make you this high class person. Owning a pair of Jordans for me is just something extra for being who you are. And if this man chooses not to buy his son Jordans, kudos to you, because that doesn't determine him. If you look at the most wealthiest people in the world, let's go Bill Gates,
Steve Jobs at the time.
Steve Jobs at the time, and the other guy,
Elon,
whoever, right? So let's go Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs said that I never let my kids use the products that I create myself, the iPads and iPhones, because of the content that's there, right? So and then they're on the internet, right? So to me, that's okay. And one, because Anthony Mackie, he's a superstar, right? So what you do online could possibly affect his career. Actually, in this day and age, it probably will affect his career if his kid did some internet fly shit. My point was like that part as far as the Jordans. I think that's okay because your kids don't need to be super fly, have the biggest name brand things, or be on the internet to actually be a successful man. Honestly, I think that can be a detriment to what you're teaching them, because what you're teaching them how to be kings, they can go online and say, hey, Dad, this is what this guy saying a king is. He got women, he got jewelry, he got Jordans, he got cars. This is a king. No, son, this is a king, right? A king is someone who's respectful, that says, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, open source for women, and not into that fight style. A king protects and provides. Now, I'm asking you this: how many people online now, male influencers that you see that are teaching young boys the proper way to be a king?
We'll see.
Other than the jury, the cars, the women, and all that.
Yeah. So I like that question, but that's everything is subjective nowadays. Like that person's version of a king is wealth and glitz, and maybe that's his background. That's all he's seen. That's what was probably taught to him. I would say interesting. It's an interesting example that Anthony Mackie gave Jordans. Like that's a high class thing for him. It's because he dropped it off like that. Like my kids are not gonna worry about Jordan. He didn't say.
I think it's the image he's talking about.
Yeah, I think it was for the price. I think it could have been that. It could have been just like. That's what he deems as like, I'm flooding your conscience with Jordans or the price of Jordans rather than I would rather flood your conscience with or build up who you are as a man. And it's important to build your sons up as men when you're not around. Who your sons truly are when you're not around says a lot about who you are as a father. Yeah. And that's just in general. So I think that's where his focus was when he used that example as Jordans. I'm sure his kids ain't walking around in Pro Wings.
Oh, probably not.
I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they have nice suits. I'm sure they have nice pair of Ferragamo shoes. I'm sure they have. Yeah. I'm sure they have a wardrobe.
Yeah.
But with that wardrobe, I guarantee you came with a thank you. I'll guarantee you it came with a, well, what's your size, young man? Oh, I'm not sure, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to measure you. Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Do you have a belt? No, sir.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you see bad kids, you don't really just be like, those bad kids. When you see good kids, you like, that shit stands out like, damn.
Right.
Clearly it did with me, with you. Clearly.
Right.
Because I'm so used to seeing, not necessarily bad kids, but just kids just run amok.
Yeah.
And when you don't see that, you take stock and you sit back and you watch and you sit back and you observe and, you that's something that draws your attention because it's in 2025 is not the norm.
Right.
So when it's something like that, when something is not the norm, you're going to kind of give it a little bit more attention than you would normally give something that you normally see.
So how do you define the death of American masculinity?
I think we have coddled. I think we have we were so scared to stick to our core fundamental teachings for young men that we don't want to offend. I don't want to offend him. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe
offend who?
Here's the example. If I'm a teacher, let's just say I'm a 7th grade teacher, and this young man walks in my class every time, and he doesn't allow the ladies to come in first, and I want to teach him that ladies come first. And let's say this boy doesn't identify as a young boy. Okay. See what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna teach him, no, in order to be a gentleman, gentlemen's like, well, I have feminine qualities. Okay. So that doesn't apply to me. No, it does apply to you, because you are still a young man who maybe just who has feminine tendencies. But it's still important for you to be a gentleman and let the ladies come in first, or let the ladies eat first. Here's why. If it was your mother, how would you want your mother to be treated? If this was your daughter, how would you want your daughter to be treated? So it goes, you can still be, like I said before, you can still be gay and still be respectful and have gentlemanly qualities. Yeah. And I think that's what we're afraid to tell these young boys about, still being masculine, have masculine tendencies, still being able to say thank you, still being able to respect women and let, ladies enter the door first. Or when you're walking down the street, you walk on the outside so that you provide a sense of protection for the lady that you're with, whether it's your sister, your auntie, your cousin, your mother. You still are to do that, regardless of who you identify with. Yeah. I think that's why people are scared to tackle that. People are scared to still drop masculine qualities like that into a world where we just want to coddle and we just want to make sure that we don't offend anybody. I don't think you offend anybody by letting them to show them protective tendencies. It doesn't make you more or less; it just makes you more complete.
You think the ones that are scared, they just don't know how to do it? Because I'm not scared to do that. It's because that's just what I know is who I am. And I know a lot of times that a lot of my men, right? A lot of the men, young boys, they get so wrapped up in what's being said on TikTok and Instagram and
social media.
What's so acceptable, and it's okay for me to feel a certain way. It's okay. And as a man, we always say it's okay not to be okay emotionally, but some feelings that you have are feelings that are not okay for you as a man, right? Some things you have to, you know what, I know this is what social was saying, but this is not really my natural state. This is not who I am. Right. This feels a bit weird. Well, if it feels weird, that means it is weird. So now you have to go and explore more of who you are. A person's lifestyle is their lifestyle. I totally respect whatever you want. But my point is, do what you want, not what you see on the platform that say, you know what, do it this way. Because now my favorite hip hop artist is now painting their nails, wearing a dress, do whatever. Now, okay, you know what, I can do it too. Right. You can, but is that truly who you are? Right. That's the question that I have. Is it truly who you are? If not, don't do it, because you're going to be miserable and always question yourself and not sure who you are. I think the confusion sets in as far as men or not men is that you're not sure who you are. You're moving in a way that's not really you, because you're doing it because it's the popular thing to do.
Until it isn't, and then you're doing something else, and then you're always constantly following trend. A man that stands for nothing will fall for anything.
Amen.
So what are you standing up for? What are your principles? What is your core for? Right. What do you remember when we were coming up and gangster rap was it? I'm sure we all listened to it. We all had our, we had NWA. We had, the High C first album. We had, we had all of these explicit content. Tupac came out and it was like, oh, can't listen to that and because you're gonna, turn into this. No, we still listen to it.
Right.
And we deemed it as entertaining. Now, we wasn't going out there talking about fuck the police. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't going out there, but I listened to it.
Yeah.
I was listening to that, and so but it didn't define me.
Right.
I listened to it because it was entertainment, and that's what it was. People tend to take social media as sometimes true life, and that's me right there, so I'm going to live that life right there. Right. They don't know that person is
just telling the story.
Yeah, just telling the story.
Yeah.
Or telling that story from a car that they're living in. You got to be careful who you're following, who you're listening to, and believing everything as gospel. Because again, you're watching it, but put it up against who you are and see if it vibes.
Exactly.
If it don't vibe, it's got to ride.
Because a man has certain traits or certain qualities, but we're all individual. And have our own mentality, have our own vision, but with the same qualities, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right.
Parallel lives. Yeah,
that's who we are. And I do believe that masculinity is trying to be has been killed. I believe that firmly because if you just look, I just look at the world and just look how men operate. How we talk to not just our women, but our kids, our parents, and it's just even the way that we now dress, right? I can be watching a sports show. You know how they always show the guys coming in pregame, and some of these outfits just trip me the fuck out.
Absolutely. I'm
like, how? Again, that's your choice.
Yeah.
But it's my choice to have an opinion on it as well too. Right? I'm like, how could you I just don't understand, right? And that brings me to my next thought that's popped in my head is that my son is 12 and every so often I catch him sagging his pants. Right? Where's your belt? But your belt, I don't have one. Well, you better go find a shoestring or something. Put them pants up because if not, I'm taking your pants from you, and you will wear the same pair of pants every day because you don't understand that when I say put up your pants, I'm being serious. Right. Because what comes with that, right? You're going to be looked at in a certain way, right?
And I'm sure you've explained this to him.
I have, and I get it. It's not always on purpose. You're a small frame kid. But you have to prepare and make sure that your pants are up. And it even goes back to in the mornings before school, he's scrambling around trying to find stuff. I'm like, bro, the night before, you show me what you're wearing. Put it here so I can see it. Because you scramble around trying to do this, do that, we're late. So I think part of being a man is being prepared. And again, I had to learn stuff on my own. Right, but now that I know and I'm still learning stuff, even at my age, I'm still learning. Is that now I got to teach my son because now he has someone that can teach him. He has someone that can show him the proper way to speak and to dress and to talk, and how to present yourself out there in the world, right? And even my mom said to me the other day, she's like, your son AJ, he is so respectful. He always says thank you. Right, and he does. He says thank you because that's what he's taught. He's taught that if you get something from someone and it's appreciated, you thank them because they took the time to give you a gift.
Exactly.
Anything someone gives you, whether it's something material or something verbal, it's a gift, right? So say thank you. Being grateful is one of the most important things you can do for yourself in life.
Your son has a natural resource that not a lot of kids his age have.
Right.
And he should utilize it. You are that natural resource. And I tell people that parenting is more of holding your kids constantly accountable first, setting the bar of what's what should be just tolerated. This is what's not going to be tolerated, but this is what's going to happen, non-negotiable across the board for the rest of your life. And we are, as parents, are just basically cliff notes to a big ass book that our kids could use to help navigate their life. Yeah. So I tell my kids, if you had a cheat sheet or to get to somewhere that you needed to get to, why would you not use it? Right. So you're doing what you're supposed to do. And I think the hardest thing for parents is we assume that they get it and they got it, so we stop holding them accountable for it. We just either, they got it, and then we go over here and we pay attention to what's going on over here because we know that we assume that they got it. Right. We can't assume that anymore. We have to stay vigilant. We have to stay holding our kids accountable. We have to stay asking questions. I know. Right. And then the older my kids get, it's not so more about holding them accountable as it is, I just ask questions now. Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? What is your plan for this? Are we prepared for this? Because the discipline part, they should already know. Right. It's certain things I don't worry about, but I still follow up. And I think that's our responsibility as parents. Right. And those are our non-negotiables as parents, to hold our kids accountable. I guarantee your son's going to teach his son, wear your belt. Wear your belt. If I had to hear it, that's how. If I had to hear it, guess what? You gonna hear it. Right. So it helped me out. Look where I'm at. I want you to be better than me. So wear your belt. Right. And then that's literally our reward when we see that. It's like, damn, you were listening. Damn, okay, I did do something right. So that's the era that we're in, and I think a lot of parents, either for one reason or the other, are not doing that. Either, they're just working, trying to make it. Kids fuck up. Kids got all of these. Every kid has a phone. Right. So every kid has a computer at the tip of their hands. It's not like going to the library, sitting in front of a computer.
My son, he asked me, because him and his sister are older. She's 14. He's 12. And he would ask me, well, Dad, why didn't, she get the same as I did? I'm like, because, son, I'm raising a man.
It's different.
I'm raising a man. And I'll say the same thing that Mackie said. How you feel about it is how you feel about it, right? I believe it's different because we are held at a higher standard than our female counterparts, right? At a higher standard. Well, we are. And that's just the way that my world works and the world works, right? Because when we go out there and something happens, say that you are in a position where you need to act fast. It's me and your sisters, or it's you and your sisters, or it's you and your friends. Who is everybody gonna look at first? You. So if that's the case, it's my job to prepare you to be able to handle what comes with life. There are things that you have to learn your own. I get that. Yep. But like you said, here's the playbook. Right. Here's the blueprint, right? This is what you do. I'm raising a man, and if it takes people not agreeing or liking or understanding or caring about how I'm raising my man, my boy, then that's okay. Right. Right. But I know that my boy is going to be okay and good because I'm setting that standard for him. Like, this is how a man, a king moves and he lives life, right? And it won't be perfect,
no,
right? But
nor should it.
But we're both learning. But I'm teaching him everything that I wasn't taught,
and then you're teaching him everything that you were taught.
Right.
So in essence, you're teaching him everything.
Right.
And then what you don't know or what comes up later, we'll figure it out, but we're going to figure it out together based on what we already know.
Right.
It's pretty much how we move in life anyway. Right. The decisions we make in life are based on the decisions that we have made or didn't make in the past.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
So the same thing goes towards how we raise our kids. Like, there's some things, like with Sean, I don't have to worry about ever his interaction with other, like shaking hands. Yeah. Him interacting with other men, as far as like meeting men and just being interviewed by men or interviewing just interacting with other kings. I don't have to worry about him. Eye contact. I don't ever have to worry about him saying no, sir. I don't have to worry about that. But do I follow up? Do I make sure that, okay, let's make sure you do this. Let's make sure we do that. I got it. I got it. Because I want him to know it hasn't changed. You're still on the same path. Continue to do what you're doing because you're doing the right thing. So that's where we have to make sure that we validate, and we have to make sure that we are constantly, because it's too much for them to lose. Yeah. And it is a double standard. I tell my daughter all the time, I'm sorry, Pooh, it's a double standard.
It definitely is.
It's a double standard. I get it because I was also the oldest in my house. Yeah. So her and I share a lot of, well, why does he get to do this? I never did that. I would never do. I get it. Yep. But at the same time, I'd rather him be home.
Right.
Understand that. Like it's a double standard.
For sure it is.
It is a double standard, but double standards exist in this world. Yeah. And you'd be a fool to say that it doesn't. Yeah. You know, it exists. So they're constantly aware. They are aware, and sometimes you raise one at the detriment of the other. Like there's some things that the other one's not gonna like that, and then you try to be fair. You know, you try to make sure that you are fair with both your kids so that they both know that they're equally loved. But there's a double standard.
Yeah. I watched the whole podcast. So did you.
Yeah.
I mean, watch, listen. So something that he said that really, really stood out, and it kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, wow, that is actually true. When he said that success is not earned, it's given.
It's given.
Right? That is crazy, because I mean, if I sit back and I think about that and I look at that,
hurts.
I'm like, hurts, but that is so real. That was like a real fucking moment right there, bro.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And again, he just shined a light on something that people just don't want to acknowledge, but it exists. Nepotism.
Yeah,
it exists.
He gave the example of, it's like, you have, James Earl Jones, Denzel, you got Don Cheadle, you got all these amazing actors, right? Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and he named them all. He was like, do you know how many people work and work and work and work and work for years and never get to that level? They're amazing actors. They're amazing talent, but they never get there. Right. Because these people are picked, right? And then I'm like, wow, that, a big part of that is true.
A big part of that is true. Nepotism. If you worked your ass off and you built your company up from the ground up, wouldn't you want to raise your son to take over?
Oh, 100%.
So, and now let's say your son his friends do not have the same resources as him. Right. That's not the son's fault.
I'm picking my son.
You're picking your son because you're grooming him, and you're creating generational wealth, and you want to keep it in the family, because then what happens is now his son comes up. So now you've created all of this wealth and you've kept it right here. Yeah. So, yes, that's going to be given sometimes. You're not going to have to cross as many hurdles as you would somebody with a law degree or let's say Harvard Law Scholarship, and then someone whose daddy's last name is Harvard and just gets in. That person didn't work as hard as the person that had to get the scholarship. That person that worked got that scholarship is working their ass off, and then the scholarship is not paying for all of it. So they're working to keep it. They're working a job, working at school, and this person that was, I wouldn't say given, be granted. He uses resources. Right. Do you think Bronny would be in the NBA if his name was Bojangle King? He wouldn't. He'd still be playing. Well, first off, he's at SC. Right. So my point is, he wouldn't be in the league. He would be still playing college ball. His daddy is who he is. I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
I don't see nothing wrong with it, because that is the dream. I would love to be a professional NBA athlete and to play ball with my son on the same team. Right. That is, I can only imagine what that feels like. Yeah. So run that. I'm glad he did that.
How many people in your corporate career have you gotten jobs for? And would they have gotten those jobs without you?
3.
Would they have gotten those jobs without you? Without you, would they have gotten those exact jobs?
3. 3.
So if you didn't get them jobs, could they get the jobs on their own?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, but again, like that's okay. I mean, I think that if you work to a certain point where you were like, I'm there, I'm gonna bring in whoever I can, especially if it's my family.
Right.
I'm gonna bring them in.
Yep.
So,
especially if it's my family.
Yeah.
But these are 3 people whose fathers looked out for me.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and I felt an obligation to pay it forward.
Yeah.
Like, yes, by all means, and I have no qualms about that. And we take pride in helping and inspiring other people. Now, you don't think I'm gonna do the same thing, if not more, for my own?
Right.
You crazy. You crazy.
You crazy.
You crazy. My son gonna be everywhere with me, doing everything, no matter where we are in the world. My son gonna be with me, and if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you.
So I mean, so you can say you somewhere. I mean, I do. You agree with the phrase "success is not given, it's picked."
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah. And then one of the I forgot the other guy's name, but he was saying that we do our kids a disservice by telling them they can be anything they want to be.
Yeah. Now, I don't. That's an interesting one, because you don't want to limit your kids' belief in themselves, but you also want to let them know that whatever you want to be, you by all means shoot for the moon, but just know what hard works come with that. Like, this is what it's going to look like. Sure, you want to be a brain surgeon. Okay, cool. It looks cool. You see the end result, but you know you're going to have to go through about 18 years of school. Yeah. Are you ready for that? Yeah. Are you ready to commit to that? Are you ready to miss your social gatherings? Are you ready to put that social media down? Are you ready to, you're going to have to focus. You're going to have to lock in. You're going to have to also probably, for lack of a better word, starve. So are you ready to do all these things? Oh, I didn't know all that existed. Well, as a parent, that's my job.
Yeah. That one, I understand what he's saying, but I'm on the fence about that one, and I think I'm leaning more towards his side, in the sense, like, if your dream, I mean, and it happens, if your dream is to be, this amazing football player, and say that you don't have the natural ability, or you have a disability, right? You really can't achieve that. Right, but if we, I think also, if we tell our kids that they can do something, and I'm gonna use the word for lack of a better term, unrealistic, and then they try it and they fail. Well, mom and dad, you said I can do it, and say that their physical ability or their mental ability does not allow them to actually do that. Right.
Right.
But I think that comes with the wisdom from us as parents.
Correct. Knowing
what our kids' abilities are, right?
And nurturing and cultivating that.
Exactly. And then, so you can do, and I'm going to say this just to say it, you can do whatever you want within your abilities. Now, you can always improve your abilities.
Correct.
And become better.
I'm fine with that.
But you do what's in your, like, most kids won't be, 6'9", 240 like LeBron.
Right.
Right? Won't do it.
Right.
But you may be, 6'6", 220 like Kobe, or 5'2", 200 like Spud Webb. But they did what was in their ability to do, right? So I believe that you can do whatever you want to do within your abilities. If you want more, become more. Learn more, become bigger, stronger, wiser, smarter. That's okay. But there are some things that we are naturally not built to do, right? I ain't built to run no straight marathon for 26 miles.
Yep. No, that's valid.
I ain't built for that.
Nope. Not the way these knees are. Nope. Not at all. No, but you're right. Like, it has to be within your frame, your box, you know, what you are physically equipped to do. Now, kids are always going to shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
They're always going to shoot for the moon. But those things, like you said, like, you're not going to be dunking out the gym and you can't even, you can't even jump, but you wanna do this.
Right.
But so that's when, as parents, we got to learn how to talk to our kids. See, we're naming all these responsibilities that we have as parents.
Right.
It's more than like what we said prior to guiding them, but we also have to give them realistic goals to shoot for. I want to be able to hit that goal, build on that, hit that goal, build on that. I don't want to continue to run my head against the wall because my mom or my dad, my parents told me I can go through this wall. And that's a wall.
It's a wall
with steel beams in there.
Right.
And I can't go through that. You can do anything you want. So if you just believe and put your mind to it, your mind going to be all over the wall. But if you tell them, just use that door, go around the other side.
Right.
What you need is really on the other side of this wall.
Right.
You don't need to go through the wall, but there's a door right there. Use your brain.
Yeah. I want to be in the NBA, but I'm like 5'1". Once out the world.
And can't dribble.
You can't dribble. Well, maybe you'll be a GM. Maybe you'll be a trainer. Maybe you'll be a statistician. I mean, you can still get to that point.
Right.
But it may not be like, okay, I want to be, no Bron, right? So
there's only one Bron.
One Bron. Yep.
There's only one Bron. So, and that's what makes these people special, because you have regular people. Everybody wants to shoot like Steph.
Right.
Everybody want to be, everybody want to be the Greek freak. Everybody want to roll through there and bully through people, but there's only one. There's only one. So you got to find your niche. And hell, it's only 450 NBA players total. So you think all those 450 people, all of them know they can't be Bron, but I'm a great practice. I'm a great practice player.
Yeah.
Or even the veterans, I'm a great role player in the locker room. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a purpose.
Yeah.
So you have to find out what your role is and how you can impact your dreams to get to where you want to do. And that's all about self-actualization, knowing who you are, knowing what you can and cannot do.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I believe that we we touched on I think we touched on everything that was in the show. If you guys have not watched the podcast, look up the Pivot podcast.
Yes.
Watch the episode because I wholeheartedly agree with Anthony's stance, right, on who he is. I mean, I do. Right?
I do.
So that's why I am. Any words in closing?
Nope. I would just say what we normally do before you judge and before you. For the critics out there, just be fair across the board. Just if you're going to critique one part of what he said, also look at everything else that he said to back up what he was saying in the beginning. To just be fair. Do that in life as well. Do that in life. Be fair with yourself. Be fair with others.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, guys, thank you, man. This is a good one.
I think so.
I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe. As always, it's Wayne Needs This podcast. Send it to him. See you guys next week. Have a good week. Bye.